The article that ran in Monday's issue of Quality Digest Daily was entitled P-TECH, an old but good idea. And that's by, of course, Bill Levinson,
Yep.
William Levinson. And now, if you know Bill Levinson, and you've read Bill Levinson, as we have, you know there's two things that are always going to be mentioned in a Bill Levinson article. One is Henry Ford.
Right.
Two is U.S. manufacturing, the importance of U.S. manufacturing and the primacy of that.
There you go.
And of course, in this piece, he weaves those two things together very beautifully. He talks about P-TECH, and P-TECH is in Brooklyn, New York. It's Brooklyn's Pathways in Technology Early College High School. It's a tech school, trade school, and it focuses on STEM education. And the hopes of this school is that it will give its graduates a leg up in filling the increasing number of job openings in American U.S. manufacturing. We've heard this from many of our users and our contributors that this is a big problem. It's not so much that the jobs aren't there. The jobs are there, and the jobs we think are going to be there in increasing numbers in U.S. manufacturing going forward. The bigger issue, the underlying issue is, do we as a society, is our educational system helping to produce those people that can fill those jobs going forward? Are we doing enough with STEM education? We talk about that a lot. Of course, Bill is going to harken back to Henry Ford. Henry Ford's trade school back in the early part of the 20th century was a renowned school, tech school, that gave its students this ability to go out and understand what industry, cutting edge industry at that time, really needed, and what training they needed to go out and get jobs. In fact, a Henry Ford Trade School graduate, according to Levinson in his research, was employable even during the depths of the Great Depression.
Yeah, they were sought after.
They were sought after people, and they were actually, as they were written, Henry Ford Trade School applicants wanted. So this was certainly a very prestigious educational opportunity for kids, mostly men, mostly boys at that time, to get out of high school, or maybe even at the end of their high school, replace them at the end of their high school, and get this degree and get this diploma and be able to go out and work. So this is really what we're trying to do here. We're trying to look at the gap in American manufacturing and look at what the schools are doing or are not doing to help fill that. Now, certainly we look at universities, we look at schools. There's no shortage of doctors coming out of schools, or lawyers, or financial analysts, or any of these things. There's no shortage of English majors coming out, or history majors, sociology.
Liberal arts.
Liberal arts. But there aren't a heck of a lot of engineers. Certainly not enough to fill the
well, and
jobs available.
I think not only, maybe more important is, because some people might argue, well, whether are or aren't engineers. I think, but I think you really could make a point that just technicians, shop floor people. Not necessarily engineers, but the next step down.
I was just going to mention that it was the engineers at the top level, but even the level below that, the people that are actually doing the work on the shop floor, the technicians, as you say, are definitely not being filled. Those jobs are definitely not,
particularly within certain industries.
Particularly within certain of these industries, and we see that. We talk to many of our people in our audience, both contributors as well as our marketing partners, to say, hey, those people just aren't out there. Where are they coming from? Where's the next generation that going to come from? And again, we're talking about P-TECH, an old but good idea by Bill Levinson, appeared in Monday's issue of Quality Digest Daily, and of course there's a link below so you can check that out. So we actually have been looking at this issue, as I said, and we were, as I mentioned at the top of the show, we were out in New England a few weeks back, and one of the things we did there was we met with Chris Vasconcellos.
Right.
And Chris is
New England Tech.
New England Tech, and they're in I believe they're in Warwick, Rhode Island. No, they're in East Greenwich, Rhode Island.
East Greenwich, Rhode Island.
Yeah. And New England Tech, it has a program where they work very closely with industry to produce these people, these technicians that are needed by industry. And we walk through the plan, and you talk to Chris, and we'll have a Profiles in Quality episode with Chris at some point in coming weeks. But we walked their campus. I did with both out of Hexagon Metrology, and it was amazing to see what they're doing, what they're doing for their students, and how they're preparing their students to actually walk into these jobs and work from day one. I think what we need to do, and what you need to do, if you're out there in the space right now, is you need to think about what you're doing to support education, what you're doing to build that bond between what your organization needs and what the schools can provide. For instance, do you have an internship program in your organization? You should. If you don't, certainly there are a number of schools across the country, and I'm sure there's one not far from your area, that can provide students that can walk in and do this work.
Well, and equipment as well. And I know,
donate equipment, absolutely.
Hexagon does this. I know Faro does this.
Yes.
A lot of the large equipment manufacturers, donate equipment to the because the students have got to have cutting edge,
Absolutely.
today's equipment.
That's right.
To learn on. It doesn't help them to have 20-year-old technology when they're going to be going into a plant that's got cutting edge technology. So a lot of the companies, metrology companies, are donating equipment to universities.
You have to.
And also get somebody who knows how to use their equipment. Whose equipment are they going to order if somebody asks them, hey, we need a new arm or whatever? What are they going to say? They're going to say the one they used.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
People come into these organizations and they move up the scale as time goes along. They move up the food chain. They're the ones that are ordering equipment. If they have a good experience from day one.
Worked for Apple.
That's right.
That's why you saw a Mac in every school.
A Mac in every school, and so this is important. Make sure that you're supporting them by making sure they have the equipment they need. Invite people into your facility if you can. If you can invite people in to tour your facility, some of these students, some of these groups, some of these professors and educators, and let them see what you're doing, and make sure that they understand what you need. Because if they don't know, you can't blame them for not giving you what you need. If you know what you need in terms of students coming out, graduates coming out and fulfilling these jobs, if you know what you need and you're not telling them, you're not helping them give that to you, well, then that's your fault.
Yeah.
That's your fault for not providing the guidance to those universities and those tech schools and taking that forward.
Yeah.
Again, this is something we've talked about a lot. We're very, very passionate supporters of this. We feel like it is the future of U.S. manufacturing to not only create the jobs, I think we're doing a fairly good job of that, but also create the applicants that can do the jobs and take U.S. manufacturing forward.
Yep.
Very important stuff. So
Yeah.
really
It was great.
more in the theme of this whole tech show we're doing here today.